The late September sun filtered through the tall windows of the Nashville mansion, casting golden streaks across the hardwood floors. Reba McEntire stood in her home studio, staring at the framed photograph on the piano, a snapshot from her wedding day 10 years ago. Rex Lynn's smile was broad and genuine, his arm wrapped protectively around her waist as confetti rained down on them outside the small chapel in Oklahoma. She traced her finger along the frame's edge, remembering how simple everything had felt that day. How certain. "Coffee's ready," Rex called from the kitchen, his voice distant despite being just one room away. Reba turned from the photograph and walked through the spacious hallway, her boots clicking softly against the polished wood. The house was beautiful, a testament to decades of hard work and success. But lately, it had started to feel more like a museum than a home. Too quiet, too empty. Rex stood at the marble kitchen island, pouring coffee into 2 mugs. At 58, he still carried himself with the understated confidence that had first attracted her. His salt and pepper hair was neatly combed, and he wore the pressed button-down shirt and slacks that had become his uniform for video conference meetings with his business partners in Los Angeles. "Thanks, honey," Reba said, accepting the mug. The warmth spread through her fingers, but it didn't reach the cold spot that had been growing in her chest for months. Rex nodded and checked his watch. "I've got a call at 9. Investors from New York want to discuss the expansion." "Right." Reba took a sip of coffee, the bitter taste matching her mood. "When do you think you'll be done?" "Could be a few hours. They're 3 hours ahead, so—" He trailed off, already mentally shifting into business mode. Reba set down her mug with more force than intended. The sharp clink made Rex look up, his hazel eyes finally focusing on her. "Everything okay?" he asked. "Yeah, fine." She forced a smile. "Just thinking about the tour dates for next month. We're adding 2 more cities in Texas." Rex's expression softened slightly. "That's great, Reba. Really? Your team must be thrilled." "They are." She paused, searching his face for something. Excitement, concern, any strong emotion. But all she found was polite interest. "It means I'll be gone for 3 weeks straight this time. I understand. It's your career. It's important." He checked his watch again. "Listen, I should get set up for this call. We'll talk tonight, okay?" Before she could respond, he was already walking toward his home office, coffee in hand, his mind clearly elsewhere. Reba watched him disappear down the hallway, and the silence that followed felt heavier than usual. She leaned against the counter, her reflection staring back at her from the darkened window above the sink. At 69, she'd maintained her fierce stage presence and her signature red hair. But the woman looking back at her seemed tired. Not physically. She could still command a stage for 2 hours without breaking, but tired in a way that sleep couldn't fix. Her phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Jessica Caldwell, her longtime manager and friend. "Morning! Need to confirm rehearsal schedule for next week. Also, have you thought about what I asked?" Reba scrolled up to find Jessica's previous message from 2 days ago. "October 15th is coming up. 10 years, Reba. That's huge. Are you planning something special?" She'd ignored the question then, but it haunted her now. October 15th, their anniversary. 10 years of marriage that had somehow drifted from passionate partnership to polite coexistence. When had that happened? When had they stopped really seeing each other? Reba typed quickly, "Can we meet for lunch? Need to talk?" The response came within seconds. "The Loveless Cafe? Noon? Perfect." She poured the rest of her coffee down the sink and headed upstairs to change. In their bedroom, she could hear Rex's muffled voice through his office door. Animated, engaged, talking about profit margins and market expansion with more enthusiasm than he'd shown her in months. Reba pulled on a pair of jeans and a simple burgundy blouse, then grabbed her favorite leather jacket from the closet. As she passed Rex's office, she paused with her hand on the doorframe, considering knocking. But the sound of his laughter, genuine and warm, stopped her. He could still feel that way, just not with her anymore. She left without saying goodbye. The drive from their estate in Brentwood to the Loveless Cafe took 25 minutes, and Reba spent most of it replaying moments from the past year. The times Rex had said he was too busy to attend her album release party. The anniversary dinner where they'd run out of conversation after 15 minutes. The way they moved around each other in the house like polite strangers sharing space. But it wasn't all bad, was it? They didn't fight. They still said, "I love you," most days. They just didn't connect. Not the way they used to. The cafe's parking lot was half full when she arrived, the smell of biscuits and country ham wafting through the air. Reba pulled her sunglasses down and hurried inside, nodding to a few fans who recognized her but mercifully didn't approach. Jessica Caldwell was already seated in a corner booth, her laptop open and phone face up on the table. At 47, Jessica had the sharp intelligence of someone who'd clawed her way to the top of Nashville's competitive music management scene. She'd been with Reba for 15 years, and in that time, they'd become more than colleagues. They were sisters in everything but blood. "You look like you didn't sleep," Jessica said as Reba slid into the booth. "I slept fine. Reba pulled off her sunglasses and set them aside. "I don't know, Jess. Something's wrong." A server appeared with menus, and they both ordered sweet tea and the biscuit platter without looking. When they were alone again, Jessica reached across the table and squeezed Reba's hand. "Tell me everything." And Reba did. The words poured out. All the small disappointments, the growing silence, the way Rex seemed more alive when talking to his business partners than when sitting across from her at breakfast. She told Jessica about the photograph she'd stared at that morning, how young and hopeful they'd looked. "I don't want to lose him," Reba finished, her voice cracking slightly. "But I don't know how to reach him anymore. It's like we're both so busy living our separate lives that we forgot to live one together." Jessica listened without interrupting, her expression thoughtful. When Reba finished, she was quiet for a long moment, stirring sugar into her tea. "Do you remember why you fell in love with him?" Jessica finally asked. Reba smiled despite herself. "He made me laugh. Even on my worst days, when I was exhausted from touring or dealing with label drama, Rex could make me laugh. And he never needed me to be Reba McEntire for him. I could just be me. Does he know you feel this way? About the distance?" "I don't think so. We're both so good at pretending everything's fine." Reba took a long sip of tea. "Our anniversary is in a month. 10 years, Jess. I keep thinking that should mean something, you know? But I'm afraid we'll just go through the motions. Nice dinner, exchange gifts, and then back to our separate corners." Jessica's eyes suddenly lit up with an idea. "What if you didn't let that happen?" "What do you mean?" "What if you did something big? Something that reminds both of you why you got married in the first place?" Reba shook her head. "Like what? Another vacation? We tried that last year in Italy, remember? It was lovely, but we were both on our phones half the time." "No, not a vacation." Jessica leaned forward, her voice dropping to an excited whisper. "What if you wrote him a song?" The words hung in the air between them. Reba blinked, caught off guard. "A song? Think about it, Reba. That's what you do. That's your language. You've written songs about heartbreak, about loss, about resilience. But when's the last time you wrote something about love? Real, complicated, messy, beautiful love." Reba's mind was already racing. "I haven't written anything personal in years. Everything lately has been for the albums, for the market." "Exactly. Which is why this would be different. This would be just for him. No producers, no label interference, no thinking about radio play. Just you, a guitar, and everything you want to say to your husband. The server arrived with their biscuits, and they paused the conversation to doctor them with butter and jam. But Reba couldn't stop thinking about Jessica's suggestion. A song. A real song. From her heart to his. "It's been so long since I've written anything like that," Reba said quietly. "What if I can't? What if the words don't come?" "They will, because you have something to say." Jessica took a bite of biscuit and pointed her fork at Reba. "Here's what I think. You plan something for your anniversary. Invite close friends, family, maybe some of your musician friends. Make it intimate, but special. And then, when everyone's there, you perform this song for Rex. Dedicate it to him publicly. Show him and show yourself that the love is still there. It's just been buried under schedules and obligations." Reba felt something shift in her chest. Hope, maybe. Or fear. Possibly both. "That's terrifying," she admitted. "The best things usually are." They ate in contemplative silence for a while, the comfort food grounding Reba as her mind spun with possibilities. Could she really do this? Write a song that exposed everything she'd been feeling? Put her heart on display not just for Rex, but for their friends and family? "I'd need help," Reba said finally, "with planning the event, keeping it secret from Rex, coordinating everyone's schedules." "You have me," Jessica said firmly, "and we'll bring in Patricia Wilson from Events by Design. She's discreet, brilliant, and she owes me a favor. We can do this, Reba, if you want to." Reba thought about Rex that morning, checking his watch, already moving toward his next obligation. She thought about the photograph on the piano and the way his arms had felt around her that day. Solid, certain, home. "I want to," she said. "I really want to." Jessica grinned and pulled out her phone. "Then let's start planning. We've got 4 weeks to pull off the most important performance of your career." By the time Reba drove home that afternoon, her head was spinning with ideas and logistics. Jessica had already texted her a preliminary timeline and a list of people to potentially invite. The event would be at their home. Intimate, personal, just 40 or 50 people in their backyard under string lights and the October stars. But first, she had to write the song. And that, Reba knew, was the hardest part. She found Rex in the living room, laptop balanced on his knees, still in his business clothes. He looked up when she entered, offering a tired smile. "How was your day?" he asked. "Good. Had lunch with Jessica." Reba sat down beside him, close enough that their knees touched. Rex didn't move away, but he didn't lean in either. "How was your call?" "Long, but productive. The expansion is moving forward faster than we thought." He closed his laptop and set it aside. "I might need to fly to LA next week for a few days." "Next week?" Reba tried to keep the disappointment from her voice. "I was hoping we could spend some time together before my tour dates pick up." Rex reached for her hand, threading his fingers through hers. The gesture was familiar but somehow distant, like muscle memory more than genuine connection. "I know. I'm sorry. This deal has been in the works for months, and I really need to be there in person." He squeezed her hand. "But when I get back, let's do something. Just the two of us. Maybe drive out to that winery you like?" "Yeah, maybe." Reba looked down at their joined hands, at the wedding band Rex had worn every day for 10 years. She wondered if he even noticed it anymore, or if it had just become part of his routine, as invisible as his morning coffee. "Are you sure everything's okay?" Rex asked, his tone gentle but probing. "You seem, I don't know, preoccupied." For a moment, Reba considered telling him, laying it all out. The loneliness, the distance, the fear that they were losing each other one comfortable day at a time. But looking at his tired eyes and the stress lines around his mouth, she couldn't bring herself to add another burden to his shoulders. "I'm fine," she lied. "Just thinking about the tour. You know how I get before hitting the road." Rex accepted this with a nod, and something in Reba's chest tightened. They were both so good at this, at smoothing over the rough edges, at pretending the cracks weren't growing wider. "I should work on some emails before dinner," Rex said, reaching for his laptop again. Reba stood up, releasing his hand. "I'll start cooking." "Pasta sound good?" "Perfect. Thanks, honey." She walked to the kitchen, her mind already drifting to melodies and lyrics. What did she want to say to Rex? What did she need him to hear? As she pulled ingredients from the refrigerator, her phone buzzed with a text from Jessica. "Patricia is in. Meeting Monday to discuss setup. Also, started a playlist of love songs for inspiration. You've got this." Reba smiled despite the knot of anxiety in her stomach. She had 4 weeks to write a song that captured 10 years of love, frustration, hope, and everything in between. 4 weeks to plan a surprise that could either bring them back together or highlight just how far apart they'd grown. She chopped vegetables with practiced precision, her mind composing opening lines, discarding them, starting over. Outside the kitchen window, the Tennessee sky was turning pink and gold, the day surrendering to evening. Somewhere in the house, Rex was answering emails, managing his empire, living his separate life. But not for much longer. One way or another, Reba was going to bridge this distance, even if it terrified her. Especially because it terrified her. Monday morning arrived with the crisp promise of early October, and Reba found herself sitting in Jessica's downtown Nashville office surrounded by event boards, color swatches, and Patricia Wilson's infectious energy. Patricia was a whirlwind of a woman. Petite, blonde, with the kind of organizational skills that bordered on supernatural. She'd planned weddings for country music royalty, album release parties that made headlines, and charity galas that raised millions. But as she explained to Reba, this project was different. "We're not just planning an anniversary party," Patricia said, spreading photos of Reba's backyard across Jessica's conference table. "We're creating an experience, a moment that Rex will remember for the rest of his life." Reba studied the photos, the sprawling lawn, the mature oak trees, the covered patio where they sometimes ate breakfast on weekends. It all looked so peaceful, so perfect. How had they managed to feel so disconnected in such a beautiful space? "I want it to feel intimate," Reba said. "Not like a big production, just family, close friends, people who've known us both for years." Patricia nodded, making notes on her tablet. "Absolutely. String lights through the trees, round tables for 8. Maybe a small stage area near the back fence where you can perform. We'll need excellent sound equipment, but nothing that looks too commercial. It should feel organic, like you just decided to sing for everyone spontaneously." Jessica laughed. "Nothing about Reba is spontaneous anymore. Every moment is scheduled down to the minute, which is exactly why this needs to feel different," Reba said firmly. "Rex always says he fell in love with the girl from Oklahoma who sang in small-town bars, not the icon who plays stadiums. I want to give him that feeling back. Then we'll make it magical," Patricia promised. "Now, let's talk logistics. October 15th falls on a Saturday this year, which is perfect. We'll need to coordinate with your household staff to make sure Rex doesn't suspect anything. Do you think we can plan this without him noticing?" Reba considered this. "Rex has been buried in work lately. He barely notices what I'm doing anymore." The words came out more bitter than she intended. "Sorry. I just mean, yes, I think we can pull it off." Jessica reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "This is going to work, Reba. Trust us." They spent the next 2 hours going through details, guest lists, catering options, the timeline for the evening, backup plans for weather. Patricia suggested a casual elegance dress code. Nothing too formal that might tip Rex off. She recommended calling it a casual anniversary dinner with friends, so Rex wouldn't expect anything elaborate. "What about the song?" Patricia asked. "Have you started writing?" Reba felt the familiar flutter of anxiety in her chest. "I've been working on it. Well, trying to. I've got melodies, fragments of lyrics, but nothing complete yet. It's harder than I thought it would be." "Why do you think that is?" Jessica asked gently. Reba stared out the window at the Nashville skyline, searching for words. "Because I'm scared of what I'll find when I really dig into my feelings. What if I write this song and realize we're too far gone? What if the words don't come, because there's nothing left to say?" Or, Patricia offered softly, "What if the words don't come easily, because there's so much to say that you don't know where to start?" The room fell quiet. Outside, the sounds of downtown traffic filtered through, honking horns, distant sirens, the rhythm of a city in motion. Reba felt paralyzed between hope and despair, between fighting for her marriage and accepting its slow fade. "Write the hard stuff," Jessica said finally. "Don't try to make it pretty or perfect. Write what's true, even if it hurts, especially if it hurts. That's where the real connection is." Reba nodded, blinking back unexpected tears. "Okay, I'll try." They finished the meeting with Patricia promising to send over preliminary designs by Wednesday. As they walked out to the parking garage together, Jessica pulled Reba aside. "I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. Always. Does Rex know you're unhappy?" Reba opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. Did he? They'd never explicitly discussed it. They'd never had the kind of fight where grievances were aired and boundaries drawn. They'd just drifted. "I don't think so," Reba admitted. "Or maybe he does, and he's choosing not to see it. I don't know which is worse. Have you considered that he might be feeling the same way? That maybe he's just as lost as you are?" The possibility hadn't really occurred to Reba. She'd been so focused on her own loneliness that she hadn't considered Rex might be lonely too, might be struggling with the same distance. "We're both idiots, aren't we?" Reba said with a sad laugh. "You're both human, and you're both scared. But that's okay. That's what this is for, to break through the fear and remember why you chose each other in the first place." They hugged goodbye, and Reba drove home with her mind churning. She had 2 weeks to write this song, 2 weeks to figure out how to distill 10 years of marriage into 4 minutes of music. The pressure felt enormous. Rex's trip to Los Angeles lasted 5 days, and Reba used the time to immerse herself in songwriting. She converted the home studio into her creative sanctuary, covering the walls with sticky notes full of lyrics, chord progressions, abandoned verses. Her longtime guitarist and friend, Danny Crawford, came by on Wednesday to help her work through melodies. Danny had played on every one of Reba's albums for the past 20 years, and he knew her musical voice almost as well as she did. "Play me what you have so far," Danny said, settling into a chair with his acoustic guitar. Reba sat at the piano, her fingers finding familiar keys. She played a simple chord progression. Nothing fancy, just honest and open. Then she began to sing the only verse she'd managed to write. "We built this house with steady hands, brick by brick, on solid land. But somewhere between the work and years, we forgot to hold each other near." She stopped, frustrated. "It's terrible. It sounds like a country music cliché." "It's not terrible," Danny said. "It's just not finished. Keep going. What comes after, hold each other near?" Reba stared at the keys. "I don't know. That's where I get stuck. What do you want to say?" Not what sounds good. What do you actually want to tell Rex? I want to tell him that I miss him, that I miss us, that I'm sorry for letting us become strangers. The words tumbled out, raw and unfiltered. I want to tell him that I look at him sometimes and I can still see the man I married, but I don't know how to reach him anymore. And I'm terrified that it's too late. Then write that, Danny said simply. Over the next 2 hours, they worked together, Danny offering suggestions while Reba wrestled with her emotions on paper. She wrote about the early days of their marriage, the laughter, the late-night conversations, the way Rex used to dance with her in the kitchen when her favorite songs came on the radio. She wrote about the slow fade, the missed dinners, the parallel lives, the way "I love you" had become more ritual than feeling. She wrote about the fear and the hope, about the choice to fight for something worth saving. By the time Danny left, Reba had 2 complete verses and a chorus. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. And for now, that was enough. Rex returned from Los Angeles on Friday evening, exhausted but satisfied with how the meetings had gone. Reba picked him up from the airport, and during the drive home, he talked animatedly about expansion plans and new partnerships. "I'm sorry I've been so preoccupied lately," Rex said, reaching over to squeeze her knee. "This deal is going to set us up really well for the next phase. Once everything's finalized, I'll have more time, I promise." "It's okay," Reba said, even though it wasn't entirely true. "I know your work is important. So is yours. How's the tour prep going?" "Good. Everything's on track." She almost mentioned the song, the anniversary plan, but caught herself. Not yet. Soon, but not yet. That night, they ordered takeout and ate dinner on the couch, watching a documentary about the national parks. It was comfortable, familiar, and utterly superficial. Reba kept stealing glances at Rex, studying his profile in the television's glow, wondering if he could feel the words she wasn't saying. "I've been thinking," Rex said during a commercial break, "maybe for our anniversary we could take a long weekend. Head up to the mountains, just the 2 of us. No phones, no obligations." Reba's heart clenched. "That sounds nice. It's been 10 years, Reba. That's worth celebrating properly." "Yeah," she agreed softly. "It really is." She wondered what he would think if he knew what she had planned. Would he be touched or overwhelmed? Would it bring them closer or expose how far apart they'd grown? Later that night, after Rex had fallen asleep, Reba crept back down to the studio. She sat at the piano in the darkness, playing the melody she'd been working on, letting the notes fill the empty spaces. She thought about the anniversary party. 3 weeks away now. She thought about standing on that small stage in their backyard, guitar in hand, performing the most vulnerable song she'd ever written. Not for thousands of fans in an arena, but for the one person whose opinion mattered most. The bridge of the song was still missing, the crucial moment where everything either collapsed or came together. Reba played variations, searching for the right emotional turn. Then, almost unexpectedly, the words came, "I don't know when we lost our way," or how to find the words to say, "But I'm still here and you're still mine. Maybe love is the choice we make each time." She played it again, adjusting the melody, feeling the truth of it settle into her bones. Love wasn't just a feeling, it was a decision, made again and again, even when it was hard, especially when it was hard. Reba grabbed her notebook and wrote furiously, capturing the moment before it slipped away. By the time she finally climbed back into bed beside Rex, the first light of dawn was creeping through the windows. She curled up against his sleeping form, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breathing. In 3 weeks, she would either save her marriage or confirm that it was beyond saving. Either way, at least she would know. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of rehearsals, tour preparations, and secret planning. Reba felt like she was living 2 lives. The public one, where she was the legendary country star, managing a career spanning decades, and the private one where she was a woman desperately trying to reconnect with her husband. Patricia proved to be worth every penny of her fee. She coordinated everything with military precision, handling vendors, confirming the guest list, and working with Reba's household staff to ensure Rex remained oblivious. The invitations went out under Jessica's name, described as a surprise anniversary celebration for Reba and Rex, and the responses came back overwhelmingly positive. Dolly Parton confirmed immediately with a text to Reba. "Wouldn't miss it for the world, honey. What you're doing is beautiful." Trisha Yearwood called personally. "I remember when you two got married. The way Rex looked at you. I told Garth that night. Now that's what forever looks like. I'm so glad you're fighting for it." Other confirmations rolled in. Kelly Clarkson, Blake Shelton with Gwen Stefani, Martina McBride, several musicians Reba had worked with over the years, and family members from both sides. Even Charlie, Rex's brother from Denver, agreed to fly in, though Reba worried his presence might tip Rex off. "Tell him it's a casual dinner party," Reba instructed Patricia. "Nothing specific about the anniversary, just that we're having friends over." "Consider it done," Patricia assured her. But managing the logistics was the easy part. The song was proving to be a much bigger challenge. It was a Wednesday afternoon, 10 days before the party, when Danny Crawford came by for what had become their regular songwriting session. Reba had been awake since 4 a.m., wrestling with the final verse, and frustration radiated from every line of her body. "It's not working," she said, before Danny even had his guitar out of the case. "I've rewritten this verse 12 times, and it's still not right." Danny settled into his usual chair. "Play me what you have." Reba sat at the piano and went through the song from the beginning. The first 2 verses flowed naturally now. The chorus was strong, and the bridge had the emotional depth she'd been searching for. But the final verse, the resolution, the moment where everything came together, felt forced and artificial. When she finished, Danny was quiet for a long moment. "The song is beautiful," he said finally, "but you're trying to wrap everything up too neatly. Life doesn't work that way. Love doesn't work that way." "What do you mean?" "You're trying to write a happy ending when you don't know the ending yet. This party, this song, it's not an ending. It's a beginning, or maybe a continuation. So why are you trying to tie it all up with a bow?" Reba stared at him. "Because that's what songs do. They resolve. They give closure. Some do, but the best ones leave room for possibility. They acknowledge that life is messy and uncertain, and that's okay." Danny picked up his guitar. "What if instead of promising Rex that everything will be perfect, you just promise to keep showing up, to keep trying?" The simplicity of it hit Reba like a revelation. She'd been so focused on crafting the perfect resolution that she'd lost sight of what she actually wanted to say. "I'm here. I'm still here. And I'm choosing you, even when it's hard." She turned back to the piano, her fingers finding new chords. The melody shifted, becoming less triumphant and more tender, more honest. "Sing it to me," Danny encouraged. "Don't think. Just sing what you feel." Reba closed her eyes and let the words come. "I can't promise you forever. Can't erase the time we've lost. But I promise you tomorrow, and every day, no matter the cost, I'll choose you when it's easy. I'll choose you when it's hard. 'Cause love's not just a feeling. It's the warrior in my heart." When she opened her eyes, Danny was smiling. "That's it," he said. "That's your ending. They worked through the arrangement together, adding subtle guitar flourishes, adjusting the tempo to give the words room to breathe. By the time Jessica arrived for their scheduled check-in 2 hours later, they had a complete song. "Play it for me," Jessica demanded, dropping her bag by the door. Reba and Danny performed it start to finish. Piano and guitar, Reba's voice carrying the vulnerability and hope she'd poured into every line. When the last note faded, Jessica was wiping tears from her eyes. "Rex is going to lose it," Jessica said, in the best possible way. "You think so?" Reba asked, suddenly uncertain. "It's so personal, maybe too personal." "That's exactly why it will work." Jessica pulled up a chair. "Now, let's talk about the rest of the evening. Patricia has everything arranged, but we need to coordinate your performance timing." They spent the next hour going through the schedule. Guests would arrive at 6 p.m. for cocktails and appetizers. Dinner would be served at 7:30, family style at the round tables Patricia was renting. Then, around 8:45, just as the sun was setting and the string lights were creating that magical twilight atmosphere, Reba would take the stage. "What if he hates it?" Reba asked quietly. "What if I get up there and sing this incredibly vulnerable song, and he, I don't know, feels ambushed or embarrassed?" "He won't," Jessica said firmly. "But even if his first reaction is complicated, that's okay. You're not doing this for an immediate payoff. You're doing it to open a door that's been closed for too long." Reba nodded, trying to absorb Jessica's confidence, but the anxiety was building as the days counted down. She'd performed for millions of people over her career, faced hostile crowds and technical disasters without flinching. But singing this song for Rex terrified her in a way that stadium tours never had, because this time it actually mattered. The weekend before the party, Rex surprised Reba by suggesting they spend Saturday together. No work, no obligations, just the two of them. They drove out to Franklin, wandering through antique shops and having lunch at a cafe they'd discovered years ago. It was the most time they'd spent together in months, and Reba found herself relaxing into the familiar rhythm of Rex's company. He told her stories about his childhood in Colorado, made her laugh with his impressions of difficult business partners, and held her hand as they walked down Main Street. "This is nice," Rex said, as they sat on a bench eating ice cream. "We should do this more often." "We should," Reba agreed. "We've both been so busy lately. I know I've been distracted." Rex turned to face her, his expression serious. "The LA expansion, the new partnerships, it's consumed me. I'm sorry for that, Reba. I don't want you to think you're not important to me." Reba's throat tightened. This was the opening she'd been waiting for, the chance to tell him how she'd been feeling. But with the party just days away, she held back. "You're important to me too," she said instead. "Always have been." Rex smiled and leaned in to kiss her forehead. "Our anniversary is coming up. I can't believe it's been 10 years. Time flies. It really does." He squeezed her hand. "I hope you know how grateful I am for you, Reba, for supporting my dreams even when they take me away from you, for building this life with me. We built it together," Reba said softly. They finished their ice cream in comfortable silence, watching families walk by, leaves beginning to turn gold and red on the trees lining the street. Reba memorized the moment. The warmth of Rex's shoulder against hers, the sound of his laughter, the way he looked at her like she was still that girl from Oklahoma he'd fallen for all those years ago. Maybe they weren't as lost as she'd feared. Maybe they just needed to remember how to find each other. Monday morning brought a complication Reba hadn't anticipated. She was reviewing the final guest list with Patricia when her phone rang. The caller ID showed Rex's brother, Charlie. "Hey, Charlie, everything okay?" "Listen, Reba, I feel terrible about this, but I can't make it to Nashville this weekend after all. My daughter Madison is in a dance competition, and I didn't realize when it was scheduled. I can't miss it." Reba's heart sank. Charlie was supposed to help sell the cover story, that he happened to be visiting and wanted to see his brother. Without him, Rex might start wondering why everyone had coincidentally shown up on their anniversary weekend. "I understand," Reba said. "Family comes first. I'm really sorry. I know this throws a wrench in your plans." After they hung up, Reba relayed the problem to Patricia and Jessica on a conference call. "It's not ideal," Patricia admitted, "but it's not catastrophic either. We'll just emphasize that you wanted to have friends over for your anniversary. Simple as that." "What if Rex gets suspicious?" Reba asked. "What if he starts asking questions about why all these specific people are there?" "Then we improvise," Jessica said. "Reba, you've handled hostile interview questions and surprise paparazzi. You can handle your husband asking about a dinner party." Reba laughed despite her nerves. "Fair point." They adjusted the logistics, moved forward with the plan. There was no turning back now. On Thursday, 3 days before the party, Reba had her final rehearsal with Danny and the small band she'd assembled for the performance. Just bass, drums, and backup vocals from 2 singers she'd worked with for years. She'd booked a private studio downtown, away from the house where Rex might overhear. They ran through the song 5 times, adjusting dynamics and harmonies, making sure every emotional beat landed the way Reba intended. The backup singers, Lauren Hayes and Michael Foster, both seasoned professionals, were visibly moved by the lyrics. "This is special, Reba," Lauren said during a break. "Really special. Rex is lucky to have you." "I'm lucky to have him," Reba countered, "even when we don't see it clearly." They rehearsed until the song was second nature, until Reba could perform it without thinking about the mechanics, allowing her to focus purely on the emotion. But as the rehearsal ended and she drove home through rush-hour traffic, the anxiety returned full force. What was she doing? Putting herself on display like this, making their private struggles public? What if it backfired? What if instead of bringing them closer, it pushed Rex further away? She pulled into their driveway as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Through the front window, she could see Rex moving around in the kitchen, probably starting dinner. The scene was so domestic, so normal, that Reba felt a surge of protective love. This was worth fighting for. He was worth fighting for, even if she was terrified. She grabbed her guitar case from the back seat and headed inside, ready to face whatever came next. Friday morning arrived with unseasonable warmth and brilliant sunshine, the kind of perfect October day that Nashville occasionally gifted its residents. Reba woke early, her mind already racing through the logistics of tomorrow's party. Beside her, Rex slept soundly, one arm thrown across his eyes to block out the early light filtering through the curtains. She studied his face, the lines around his eyes, the gray threading through his hair at the temples, the peaceful expression he wore in sleep. This was the man she'd promised forever to, and yet she'd been so focused on the distance between them that she'd forgotten to simply look at him. Reba slipped out of bed carefully, not wanting to wake him, and padded downstairs to make coffee. Her phone was already buzzing with messages from Patricia about final preparations, from Jessica with last-minute coordinator details, from the caterers confirming delivery times. The enormous machinery of the event was in motion now, unstoppable. She was responding to Patricia's text about table arrangements when Rex appeared in the doorway, hair disheveled, wearing his favorite worn Oklahoma State sweatshirt. "Morning," he said, his voice rough with sleep. "You're up early." "Couldn't sleep. Too much on my mind." Reba handed him a mug of coffee, which he accepted gratefully. Rex settled onto a kitchen stool, watching her with an expression she couldn't quite read. "Is everything okay? You've been I don't know. Different lately. More distracted. Reba's heart rate picked up. Had he figured it out? Did he know something was happening tomorrow? Just the usual chaos, she said, keeping her tone light. Tour prep, scheduling conflicts, the normal insanity. Right. Rex took a long sip of coffee. Listen, about tomorrow. I know it's our anniversary, but would you be okay if we kept things low-key? Maybe just the two of us. A nice dinner here at home? Reba had to work to keep her expression neutral. Sure, that sounds nice. I've just been thinking, we don't need a big production. I'd rather spend real time with you, you know? No distractions, no crowds. The irony was almost painful. Here was Rex asking for exactly what she wanted. Genuine connection. Quality time. Completely unaware that in less than 24 hours, 50 people would be gathering in their backyard for the most elaborate production she'd ever planned. I'd love that, Reba said truthfully. Quality time sounds perfect. Rex smiled, clearly relieved. Good. I'll pick up steaks from that butcher you like. We can grill, open a good bottle of wine, just enjoy each other's company. As he outlined his simple anniversary plans, Reba felt a wave of doubt crash over her. Was she making a terrible mistake? Was this elaborate party, with the song and the performance exactly the opposite of what Rex actually wanted? But then she remembered why she'd started this in the first place. It wasn't about the party or the song. Those were just vehicles for the real message. She was fighting for them, for their marriage, for the connection that had gotten buried under years of separate lives and polite distance. Sometimes you had to make noise to be heard. The rest of Friday passed in a strange sort of suspended animation. Rex went to his office for several hours, giving Reba space to coordinate final details with Patricia. The rental company arrived to set up tables and chairs, working quickly while Rex was gone. The florist delivered arrangements that Patricia's team immediately stashed in the garage. The catering crew did a walkthrough of the kitchen, mapping out logistics for tomorrow. Everything's on track, Patricia assured Reba during a quick check-in. The weather forecast is perfect. Mid-60s, clear skies, no chance of rain. String lights are going up first thing tomorrow morning. Your band will arrive at 5 p.m. to do a sound check and then hide in the garage until showtime. It's all happening. It's all happening, Reba echoed, though it felt more like an incantation against disaster than a statement of fact. That evening, she and Rex ordered Chinese takeout and ate dinner on the back patio, the same space that would be transformed into a party venue by this time tomorrow. Reba tried to see it through Rex's eyes, wondering how surprised he'd be, whether the surprise would be welcome or overwhelming. "This is nice," Rex said, gesturing to the peaceful yard, the setting sun, the simple meal. "This is what I miss. Just us. No agenda." "Me too," Reba said softly. After dinner, Rex suggested watching a movie, and they ended up on the couch with a thriller neither of them paid much attention to. Rex fell asleep 20 minutes in, his head tilted back against the cushions, soft snores punctuating the on-screen action. Reba watched him sleep, feeling the weight of tomorrow pressing down on her chest. In her purse, her phone kept buzzing with updates, confirmed arrivals, final head counts, lighting adjustments. She silenced it and just sat there, Rex's hand loosely holding hers, trying to memorize this moment of peace before everything changed. Around 11 p.m., she gently woke him. "Come on, let's get you to bed." "Sorry," he mumbled, stumbling upstairs beside her. "Long week." "I know, honey. It's okay." They climbed into bed, and Rex was asleep again within minutes. Reba lay awake in the darkness, her mind refusing to quiet. Tomorrow night at this time, it would all be over. She would have sung her song, exposed her heart, made her grand gesture, and they would either be closer or facing an uncomfortable truth about the state of their marriage. She finally fell asleep around 2 a.m. Her dreams, a confused tangle of stage lights and forgotten lyrics. Saturday morning broke with almost aggressive cheerfulness, brilliant sunshine, singing birds, the kind of morning that seemed to promise good things. Reba woke to find Rex already up, the smell of bacon drifting upstairs. She pulled on yoga pants and a t-shirt and went down to find him cooking a full breakfast. Eggs, bacon, toast, orange juice. "Happy anniversary," he said, pulling her into a hug. 10 years with my best girl." "Happy anniversary," Reba replied, her voice catching slightly. They ate breakfast together, Rex talking about maybe taking a drive later. Perhaps visiting that art gallery in Leiper's Fork they'd been meaning to check out. Reba nodded along, knowing that none of those plans would happen. That by noon, their yard would be full of workers transforming the space. At 10 a.m., Rex got a call from his business partner in L.A. "I need to take this," he said apologetically. "Might be a while." "No problem. Take your time." As soon as Rex disappeared into his office, Reba's phone exploded with activity. Patricia and her team arrived in a convoy of vehicles, and suddenly, the yard became a hive of organized chaos. String lights went up between trees. Tables were arranged and covered with elegant linens. A small stage was assembled near the back fence. Flowers appeared on every surface. Reba coordinated from inside, keeping one eye on Rex's closed office door, ready to intercept if he emerged. Jessica arrived at 11:30 with dress options for the evening. "How are you holding up?" Jessica asked, laying 3 evening gowns across the guest bedroom bed. "I'm terrified," Reba admitted. "What if he hates it? What if this grand gesture just makes everything worse? Then you'll deal with that. But Reba, you've spent months letting distance grow between you because you were too scared to address it directly. This is you being brave. No matter what happens, that matters." Reba tried on the dresses, settling on a simple but elegant burgundy gown that felt more like her true self than the flashier options. She left her hair down, just light makeup. She wanted Rex to see her, not some polished version of the country music star. By 2 p.m., the yard was transformed. Patricia had worked magic with the space, creating an intimate atmosphere that felt more like a gathering among friends than a formal event. The string lights waited to be turned on at dusk. The tables were set with simple but elegant place settings, and the small stage looked unassuming but professional. "It's perfect," Reba breathed, surveying the scene from the patio door. "It really is," Patricia agreed. "Now, how do we get Rex out of the house so the early arrivals don't tip him off?" That problem solved itself when Rex emerged from his office at 3 p.m., looking frustrated. "I need to run to the office supply store. Printer's acting up, and I need documents for a meeting Monday. Want to come with?" "Actually, I promised Jessica I'd help her with something," Reba lied smoothly. "But take your time. Maybe grab a coffee while you're out?" Rex kissed her forehead. "Back in an hour or so. Love you. Love you too." As soon as his car pulled out of the driveway, the final preparations kicked into high gear. Band members arrived and did a quick sound check, then retreated to the garage to wait. Early guests started arriving: Dolly, Tricia, Martina, close family members who could help sell the surprise when Rex returned. Reba changed into her burgundy gown, her hands shaking slightly as she zipped it up. This was really happening. In a few hours, she would stand on that stage and sing the most vulnerable song she'd ever written, and everything would change. At 5:45 p.m., she got a text from Rex. "On my way back. Did you want me to pick up dinner?" Reba replied, "I've got it covered. See you soon." She went outside where the guests had gathered, everyone ready to play their part. The sun was beginning its descent. painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. The string lights glowed softly. The tables looked beautiful. Everything was in place. "He's 2 minutes out," Jessica said, checking her phone. Reba took a deep breath. Here they went. Rex's car pulled into the driveway, and Reba positioned herself near the back gate, letting the surprise unfold naturally. She heard his footsteps approaching, heard him calling her name. "Reba? Where are—" He stopped dead in the doorway to the backyard, his mouth falling open in shock. 50 people stood there, smiling, as someone yelled, "Surprise!" Rex's eyes found Reba immediately, confusion and wonder warring on his face. What is all this?" Reba walked to him, taking his hands. "Happy anniversary, Rex. I know you wanted something low-key, but I needed to do this, for us. I don't understand." "You will," she promised. "Just trust me, okay?" And surrounded by their friends and family, under the Tennessee sky turning gold, Reba led her husband into the party she'd planned to save their marriage. The look on Rex's face as he took in the transformed backyard was a mixture of shock, confusion, and something that might have been delight. Reba held tightly to his hand, anchoring him as their friends surged forward with greetings and well wishes. "You did all this?" Rex whispered to her as Dolly Parton pulled him into a hug. "I had help," Reba admitted. "Patricia Wilson coordinated everything. Jessica kept me sane. And about 40 people managed to keep a secret, which might be the real miracle." Rex laughed, genuinely laughed, and some of the tension in Reba's shoulders eased. Maybe this would be okay. Maybe she hadn't made a terrible mistake. For the next hour, they moved through the party together, greeting guests and accepting anniversary congratulations. Rex seemed to relax into the celebration, his natural charm taking over. He told stories about their early dating days to Blake and Gwen, discussed business ventures with some of the industry friends who'd attended, and thanked everyone for coming. But Reba noticed him stealing glances at her throughout the evening, a question in his eyes that he hadn't yet voiced. She knew what he was wondering. Why now? Why this? Soon she would answer him. But first, there was dinner to get through. At 7:30, Patricia's team began serving dinner, a menu Reba had carefully selected featuring Rex's favorites: perfectly grilled ribeye, roasted vegetables, garlic mashed potatoes, and a salad with that honey balsamic dressing he loved. The round tables encouraged conversation, and the yard filled with the sound of laughter and clinking glasses. Reba and Rex sat at the center table with close family: her sister Alice, who'd flown in from Oklahoma, his brother's family who'd made it after all, Charlie's daughter's competition had been rescheduled, and Jessica. The conversation flowed easily, stories from the past decade of their marriage shared with affection and humor. "Remember your first anniversary?" Alice said, laughing. "You two went camping and it rained the entire time?" "Don't remind me," Rex groaned. "We were soaked for 3 days straight." "But we laughed through the whole thing," Reba added, meeting his eyes. "Even when the tent collapsed at 2 a.m. "Best worst anniversary ever," Rex agreed, squeezing her hand under the table. As dessert was served, a simple but elegant anniversary cake from the bakery where they'd gotten their wedding cake, Tricia Yearwood stood and clinked her glass with a spoon, calling for attention. "I'd like to propose a toast," she announced, her warm voice carrying across the yard. "To Reba and Rex, two people who've shown us what it means to build a life together while respecting each other's dreams and ambitions. 10 years is no small feat, especially in our world where everything moves fast and nothing seems to last. Here's to 10 more years, and 10 more after that." "Here, here!" The group raised their glasses, and Reba felt tears pricking her eyes. Rex pulled her close, kissing her temple. "Thank you for this," he murmured. "I know I said I wanted something low-key, but this This is special. There's more, Reba said softly. Just wait. As the sun began its final descent toward the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and purples, Patricia gave Reba a subtle nod. It was time. Jessica stood and addressed the group. Before we wrap up this beautiful evening, Reba has prepared something very special for this occasion. Reba? Reba stood, her legs slightly unsteady. This was it. The moment she'd been building toward for weeks. She walked to the small stage, Danny and the band emerging from their hiding spot to take their positions. The crowd quieted, curious and attentive. Rex looked completely bewildered. Reba, what are you doing? She picked up the acoustic guitar Danny handed her, adjusting the strap across her burgundy gown. The microphone stand was positioned perfectly, the lights creating an intimate glow around the stage area. She looked out at the faces of the people she loved. Friends, family, colleagues who'd supported her through decades of triumphs and challenges. But her eyes kept returning to Rex, seated at the center table, his expression a mixture of confusion and anticipation. 10 years ago, Reba began, her voice carrying clearly through the sound system. I married my best friend, a man who made me laugh when I was exhausted, who supported my dreams even when they took me away from him, who saw me, really saw me, beneath all the costumes and spotlights and expectations. Rex's face softened, and she saw him swallow hard. But somewhere along the way, she continued, we lost each other a little bit. Not dramatically. There was no big fight, no betrayal, no moment where everything fell apart. It was quieter than that. We just drifted, two people living parallel lives, forgetting to intersect. The yard was completely silent now, everyone leaning in to hear her words. I've written hundreds of songs in my career, Reba said. Songs about heartbreak, about resilience, about the human experience in all its messy glory. But I haven't written a song about real love, complicated, imperfect, worth fighting for love, in a very long time. So I wrote one. For you, Rex. Because you deserve to know that I'm still here. I'm still choosing you. Even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard. She saw tears gathering in Rex's eyes, and her own vision blurred slightly. This song is called The Warrior in My Heart, Reba said. And it's my promise to you. She nodded to Danny, who began the opening guitar progression. Soft, intimate, honest. Reba let the melody wash over her for a moment, grounding herself in the music, in the truth she was about to share. Then she began to sing. We built this house with steady hands, brick by brick, on solid land. But somewhere between the work and years, we forgot to hold each other near. I see you in the morning light, reaching for your coffee, checking your phone, and I wonder if you even notice that we've been living alone. But I'm still here, standing at your door, with my heart in my hands, like I did before. I know we've lost our way somehow, but I'm fighting for us now. 'Cause love's not just a feeling, it's the warrior in my heart. Her voice carried across the yard, raw and vulnerable in a way it hadn't been in years. This wasn't a performance, this was confession, apology, and declaration, all wrapped together. Rex had tears streaming down his face now, unashamed, his full attention locked on her. Remember when we used to dance in the kitchen to our favorite songs? When did silence become our soundtrack? When did comfortable become wrong? I miss your laugh. I miss your stories. I miss the man who made me whole. Not the stranger at the breakfast table, who's forgotten how to know. So I'm still here, standing at your door, with my heart in my hands, like I did before. I know we've lost our way somehow, But I'm fighting for us now. 'Cause love's not just a feeling. It's the warrior in my heart. The bridge came, and Reba's voice grew stronger, more certain. I don't know when we lost our way, or how to find the words to say, but I'm still here, and you're still mine. Maybe love is the choice we make each time, each morning that we wake up, each moment that we stay, each battle that we don't give up. That's how we find our way. The final verse emerged, the resolution she'd struggled so hard to write, the truth she'd finally found. I can't promise you forever, can't erase the time we've lost, but I promise you tomorrow, and every day, no matter the cost. I'll choose you when it's easy. I'll choose you when it's hard. 'Cause love's not just a feeling. It's the warrior in my heart. Yeah, love's not just a feeling. It's the warrior in my heart. The last note faded into the evening air, and for a moment, there was absolute silence. Reba's hands trembled on the guitar, her heart pounding so hard she thought everyone could hear it. Then Rex stood up. He didn't say anything, just walked straight to the stage, climbed the 2 steps, and pulled Reba into his arms. The guitar pressed awkwardly between them, but neither of them cared. Rex was crying openly now, his face buried in her hair. "I'm sorry," he whispered, his voice breaking. "God, Reba, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize. I've been so focused on work, on the next deal, on building this empire, that I forgot why I was building it in the first place. For us. For you." Reba set down the guitar and wrapped her arms around him properly, feeling his shoulders shake with emotion. "We both forgot," she said softly, "but we're remembering now. That's what matters." Around them, the guests were on their feet, applauding, many of them crying as openly as Rex. But Reba barely noticed. Her entire world had narrowed to this moment, this man, this choice to keep fighting. Rex pulled back slightly, cupping her face in his hands. "I love you." Not the polite "I love you" we've been saying out of habit. I mean, I love you the way I did 10 years ago, the way I will 10 years from now. You're my best friend, Reba. You always have been. I forgot to show you. "Show me now," Reba whispered. "Show me every day after this." He kissed her then, tender and passionate and full of promise, and the crowd erupted in cheers. The rest of the evening took on a dreamlike quality. Reba and Rex stayed on the stage for a while, just holding each other, as friends and family approached with hugs and congratulations. Dolly was weeping openly, declaring it the most beautiful thing she'd ever witnessed. Trisha grabbed Reba's hands and said, "That's how you fight for love. That's exactly how." Eventually, they made their way back to their table, but they couldn't stop touching, hands intertwined, shoulders pressed together, Rex occasionally kissing her temple as if reassuring himself she was real. "I can't believe you did all this," Rex said for the 10th time. "The party, the song, coordinating everyone. And I had no idea." "Patricia Wilson deserves most of the credit for the party," Reba admitted. "And Jessica kept me from losing my mind during the planning. But the song, that was just me, trying to figure out how to say everything I'd been feeling. Every word was true, wasn't it? About the distance, about us drifting. Every word." Rex was quiet for a moment, his thumb tracing circles on the back of her hand. "I felt it too. The distance. I just didn't know how to bridge it. Or maybe I was scared to try, in case you'd realized you were better off without me." Reba turned to face him fully. "Rex Lynn, I have never, not for 1 second, been better off without you. Lost? Yes. Confused? Absolutely. But better off? Never. I want to do better," he said earnestly. Not just say it. Actually do it. I want to cut back on work travel, be more present, remember to dance with you in the kitchen. I want to be the man you fell in love with. You already are that man. You just forgot for a while. We both did. She squeezed his hand. But Rex, this isn't all on you. I could have spoken up months ago instead of letting the resentment build. I could have told you I was lonely instead of planning this elaborate surprise. We both need to do better at actually talking to each other. Deal, Rex said, sealing it with a kiss. As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, they received countless hugs and well wishes. Blake Shelton pulled Rex aside for what looked like a serious conversation, and Reba saw Rex nodding, wiping his eyes again. "What did Blake say to you?" she asked later. "He told me that Gwen saved his life by refusing to let him settle for comfortable. That real love requires showing up every day, even when you're tired or distracted or scared." Rex smiled. "Then he threatened to kick my ass if I ever took you for granted again." Reba laughed. "I love Blake." "Me too." By 11 p.m., only a few close friends remained, helping Patricia's team with the final cleanup. Reba and Rex stood in the middle of their backyard, now mostly cleared of tables and decorations, looking up at the stars beginning to emerge in the October sky. "Dance with me," Rex said suddenly. "There's no music, so we'll make our own." He pulled her close, and they swayed together in the grass. No rhythm but their own heartbeats. No melody but the night sounds of Tennessee. Reba rested her head on his shoulder, feeling more at peace than she had in months. "Thank you," Rex whispered, "for fighting for us, for being brave enough to make noise when I was too caught up to listen, for writing that song. Thank you for hearing it, for really hearing it." They stayed like that for a long time, two people finding their way back to each other under the stars, surrounded by the remnants of a party that had been about so much more than an anniversary. It had been about choice, about warrior hearts, about love that refuses to give up. January cold had settled over Nashville, but inside the McEntire Lynn household, warmth radiated from every room. Reba stood at the kitchen window, watching snow begin to fall in soft, lazy flakes, coffee warming her hands. Behind her, she heard Rex's footsteps on the stairs. Not hurried, not distracted, just easy and present. He wrapped his arms around her waist, resting his chin on her shoulder. "Pretty," he said, watching the snow. "Beautiful," Reba agreed. "I was talking about you." She turned in his arms, smiling. Smooth talker, just stating facts. He kissed her nose. "What time do we need to leave for the airport?" "Not until noon. My flight to Austin isn't until 3. And I'll be back from LA on Thursday, right in time for our date night." Date night had become sacred in the 3 months since the anniversary party. Every Thursday, no matter what, they made time for each other. Sometimes fancy dinners, sometimes just pizza and a movie on the couch, but always intentional, always present. Rex had cut his LA travel by half, delegating more to his partners, choosing to work from Nashville whenever possible. Reba had adjusted her tour schedule, building in more time at home, saying no to obligations that would keep them apart for extended periods. They'd started couples counseling, not because things were falling apart, but because they'd learned that maintenance was easier than repair. They talked more, fought occasionally, which, surprisingly, felt healthy after months of polite silence, and laughed often. The song had found its way to the internet, of course. Someone at the party had recorded it on their phone, and within days, it was trending across social media. Reba's label had wanted to release it officially, but she'd declined. Some things were private, sacred, not for public consumption. "What are you thinking about?" Rex asked, studying her face. "How lucky I am. How lucky we are." "Yeah? We could have let it slip away. It would have been so easy. No drama, no big blow-up, just a gradual fading until we were strangers sharing a house. Reba looked up at him. But we didn't. We fought, and that makes all the difference. Rex kissed her properly, taking his time. I fight for you every day, Reba McEntire. In case you were wondering, I know. I see it. She smiled. And I fight for you too. Warrior heart, remember? How could I forget? You literally wrote me a song about it. They finished their coffee together, made breakfast, and spent a lazy morning in each other's company before the obligations of their separate careers pulled them in different directions. But it felt different now. Not like disconnection, but like the natural ebb and flow of two lives intertwined. As Reba packed for Austin and Rex prepared for his LA meetings, they kept finding each other. Brief kisses in the hallway, inside jokes shared over laptop screens, the easy intimacy of people who'd chosen each other and kept choosing, day after day. I'll miss you, Rex said at the airport drop-off, holding her close. 3 days, then we're back to our regular chaos. Best chaos ever. Reba watched him drive away, then turned toward the terminal, guitar case in hand, ready for whatever came next. The warrior in her heart was at peace, knowing that no matter how far she traveled, she had a home to return to. And waiting for her there would be the man who made her laugh, who saw her completely, who had heard her song and answered with his whole heart. 10 years of marriage, and a lifetime still to go.